So I'm going to make a rant about political correctness culture and cultural Marxism in the workplace, which I'm sure you'll all agree is going way too fucking far and is making the workplace completely toxic. Like, if I was a boss, why would I want to be a boss, if you got all that shit to deal with? Well, anyway, I had an unfortunate experience today. You see, last week a friend of mine made an innocent comment and it kind of fucked him up a bit. So what was this comment? Well, the context of it was some other guy, I don't know his name, announced that he had to work overtime. And my friend said something like, I hope your wife understands. So he was presuming that he was married when he wasn't. So how did this person react to this? Well, instead of just laughing it off or pulling him aside and correcting him, he got offended. He said in public, no, that I'm not married. I can't even remember the whole thing because it wasn't a malicious comment. It was just a misunderstanding, and to be honest, I was fucking bored out of my mind. Nobody fucking cared except for that guy who made a big fucking deal about it. That was last week, and this week my friend said he thought about that incident all weekend and felt embarrassed and kind of angry as he would. Because who the fuck does that? I mean, who the fuck makes such a big deal out of something innocent like that? And I had an experience very similar to that like 5 years ago. I had an office job. It was kind of boring as fuck, with no windows, and it was in summertime, so it was just agony to be there. And there was a colleague of mine who had a conversation with me, and it turned to religion, and when he announced that he was Church of England. Anyway, I said in jest, oh, that religion that some fat guy made so he could get divorced, which was completely correct. Anyway, he went into a real foul mood and bitched about how people teased him for that. Such a fucking drama queen. Anyway, instead of just laughing it off or saying, please don't talk about religion in the workplace, which is fair enough. No, instead he bitched to the manager, and the manager went to me, and he said he wanted to talk to me at the end of the day. And I could tell I was in trouble. I was completely blank though as to why. I didn't link the two things together. And he wouldn't tell me what it was the reason, and I had no idea why, and I would have to find out until the end of the day. So during my work during that day, I was feeling sick like a parrot, so sick that I eventually went to the boss and I made an ultimatum: tell me why now, or I'm off. And he wouldn't tell me, so I quit right there. People today are such crybabies, and instead of being like an adult and just dealing with a little bit of innuendo or some innocent jokes that may go astray, they get offended and they cry off like a little child. I also think it's gotten so much worse this century. Like last century, we had Family Guy, we had South Park, and we also had the Attitude Era in pro wrestling. I won't go into too much detail about that. But for those who don't know, it was wrestling with swearing, blood, and controversy. That kind of all changed around 2006, and now wrestling is kind of all watered down and politically correct. There's all generic good guys like John Cena, and no anti-heroes or swearing or anything like that. Anyway, in 2012, one of the wrestling managers, those guys who escort the wrestler to the ring, he was called Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman faked a heart attack. Now, this is something that would happen in the Attitude Era. And at that time, fans were nostalgic for the return to the Attitude Era. They still are to a certain degree. So what happened? Well, people complained. They sent complaints to, I think, the network or something. And then Heyman came out next week and basically called out the fans out on what they are, and that is a bunch of hypocrites. Because they cry for the nostalgic era of swearing and stuff like that, and yet here they are getting offended over a fucking faked heart attack.